Here we are using ratios to find different things. Like in this first set, we have the ratio of angles of a triangle. That's called an extended ratio when you have more than two numbers in your ratio. It says the measures of the angles of a triangle are in the extended ratio given. Find the measures of the angles of the triangle. So if we're looking at this first one, they've already reduced it by some number. So basically we need to figure out what number they divided each of these by and then plug it in and multiply them by that number to figure out what the angles were. So what we do is, because we don't know that number, we put an X on each of these numbers because they've reduced it, but we don't know what they reduced it by. And what we do know about the angles of a triangle is that they should add to 180 all the time. So I've got my angles of my triangle here. I've got 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 10 is 18x. So 18x equals 180, and dividing by 18, x would end up being 10. And then to find the angles, because they want us to find the angle measures, we need to plug that back in for 1x, 7x, and 10x. So we have an angle that's 10 degrees, because 10 times 1. We have an angle that would be 70 degrees, because 7 times 10. And we have an angle that would be 100 degrees, being that 10 times 10. So those would be the three angles of the triangle. If we were to use the 5, 6, 7, doing the same thing again, 5x, 6x, 7x would all add to 180. So 5 and 6 and 7 actually is 18 again. And it won't always be 10 for x, it just happens to be that way in these two problems. So x is 10, and then we would plug it back in for our angles. 5 times 10 is 50 degrees, 6 times 10 is 60 degrees, and 7 times 10 is 70 degrees. And those are the angles of the triangle there. So moving on to a different type of problem here. It says the perimeter of a rectangle is 56 inches. You know that that's like all the way around the rectangle. So if I were to draw a rectangle here, perimeter adds up all four sides. So I'm just going to write that down. 56, not 66. There we go. 56 inches. The ratio of the length to the width is 6 to 1, so the length would be like 6x and the width would be 1x. Remember, it's not 6 and 1, that's been reduced. So we want to put an x on there. Anytime they give you a ratio like this, just put x on it and put it in for what it's supposed to be. So the perimeter, if we added all these up, 6 and 1 plus 6 and 1 would be 14x's. 14x would be adding all of those up, which is the perimeter, so that 14x should equal 56. And if we're going to divide 56 by 14, we get 4 for x. But they want the length and the width, so you got to plug that in for 6x and 1x. The length would be 6 times 4, 24, and that was inches, so it's inches. And the width would be 1x times 4, which would be 4 inches. So there we have our length and our width. The next one, they want area, or they're talking about area. The area of a rectangle, which we know is length times width, the area is 525 centimeters squared. The ratio of length to width is 7 to 3, so 7x, 3x. Find the length and the width. So 7x times 3x is what you're going to do for your area. And that will give me 21x squared, because you've got to do that x times x there, 525. So now we need to get our x alone. So to get our x alone, we need to do 525 divided by the 21 to isolate the x squared. And when we do that division, we get 25. And then you need to square root that. And again, remember that square rooting will give you a positive and negative form of an answer, but if I were to plug in a negative here, since I have a picture in this one, that would give me a negative side length. So really we just want to keep the positive 5 for the answer to this question. But I want to remind you of that because when you get into Algebra 2, you don't want to forget that you need that positive and negative. Geometric mean is something that you need to remember. There's no formula for this on the formula chart, so it's really important that you recognize those words and know exactly what to do. A geometric mean is used by setting up a proportion of these two numbers. It's not the same as a normal average. So what I would do is I would put 2 over x equals x over 8. So you always set up this ratio or this proportion like this. It's the number over x, x over the number, and then you cross multiply and solve. So 2 times 8 is 16 would equal x squared, and then you square root. 4 is x, and that's the answer. So if I was going to do another one of these, let's do 10 and 12. 10 over x, x over 12, that would be 120 equals x squared and square root. And I want us to do radical form here, so 12 and 10, that'd be 2 and 6, 6 would be 2 and 3, that would be 2 and 5. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3 2s and a 3 and a 5. So I have a pair of 2s and then a lonely 3, 2, and 5. So 3 times 2 times 5 would be 30. This would be the answer in radical form. Or if you wanted, well, this calculator won't do that, so I'm just going to leave it like that, radical form, because that's what I want anyways most of the time. But of course, if you have answer choices and they are giving you decimals, just do square root of 120. Right here, they are giving you a picture with some a variable or expressions on the sides, and they also give you a ratio to use. So just use this information to set up a ratio. AC over AB is 3 to 4. So put 3 over 4 and then put AC over AB. So find AC, which is x. Find AB, it's 12. And then you cross multiply. 3 times 12 is 36. 4x. Divide by 4. X is 9 for that answer. To do a more complicated one, like number 27, they have AC over BC would be 7 over 4. AC on top, 21. BC on the bottom, 2x plus 4. Cross multiplying, 4 times 21 would be 84. 7 times 2x plus 4. Cross multiplying the other way. Distributing this 7. 84 would be 14x plus 28. And so, just to finish up that solving there, we will do 84 minus 28 and get 56, and then divide by 14, and that gives us 4. So for that one, x is 4, and that's all they said was solve for the variable. They didn't have us solve for the sides.